Well, all right, everybody. I'm Logan Alec. I'm a CPA, and this is my stimulus update for Friday, December 4th. Nancy Pelosi held a press conference this morning talking about the government funding as well as stimulus. And in the Q&A portion at the end of this press conference, reporters were asking her why she is viewing this new $908 billion bipartisan proposal as the basis for negotiations, while a few months ago she rejected the Problem Solvers Caucus proposal that had more money in it. And Nancy got a bit testy, shall we say.
Look, I'm going to tell you something. Don't characterize what we did before as a mistake, as a preface to your question, if you want an answer.
I'll play all the clips at the end, and Pelosi also dropped a bombshell, namely that she, like Mitch McConnell, wants stimulus to be wrapped up into the omnibus government funding bills, despite the fact that previously she, as well as McConnell, both said that they did not want to do that. I'll show you the clips later in this video, but for now, let's just talk about where we've been this week. So as we all know, the big buzz this week about stimulus is the $908 billion proposal that was released on Tuesday by a bipartisan group of senators in partnership with members of the House Problem Solvers Caucus. It offers no stimulus checks, and its supercharged unemployment boost is a mere $300 a week. Nevertheless, support has grown throughout the week for this thing from lawmakers in both parties, including a nod, as we've said, from the top Democratic brass, Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, who described this thing in a joint statement as the basis for immediate bipartisan bicameral negotiations. They did say that they and others will make improvements, of course, but still, this is huge for the Democrats to stoop to a proposal like this as a starting point after so many months of holding fast to the $2.4 trillion updated HEROES Act, with perhaps condescending at one point down to $2.2 trillion. So what's the status of this proposal? How might it be modified? Let's talk about that. Well, if you look at what's in this thing, the easy stuff is the PPP, right? The money for vaccines, the unemployment. There's enough support on both sides of the aisle for this stuff. This is bipartisan stuff. I bet some Dems would want to push for more on the unemployment front, but my sentiment is that if they feel that $300 a week is the best they can get at this point, well, they may as well go for that. As always, the sticking points have been liability protection and funding for state and local governments. This proposal does have liability protection for businesses for 6 months, which many Dems obviously don't like, and it only has $160 billion for state and local government, which again, many Dems will feel is too little, although this thing is only supposed to be for 4 months, right? So keep that in mind. The question is, will there be some kind of trade-off here, or at least mutual acceptance of the existence of both liability protection and some modest aid for state and local governments? On state and local, Mitt Romney, who is one of the Republican senators behind this proposal, said that some of the $160 billion for state and local government would be distributed simply based on the population of various states and localities, and some would be distributed based on the revenue gap that exists between particular governments. Romney, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, and Bill Cassidy, who are the Republican senators behind this thing, did present this proposal to Mitch McConnell in his office this week, and reportedly got his thoughts about the liability coverage provisions as well. We know that Mitch really wants liability protection for businesses and any other entities in any COVID-19 relief bill. Romney said that McConnell and other Republican senators did not really seem too concerned about the overall price tag, which is understandable, given that in total this thing is less than $1 trillion and offers less than $400 billion in new money. But Romney didn't say whether Mitch appeared willing to schedule a vote on the Senate floor on this new proposal, but McConnell did say yesterday on the Senate floor that compromise is within reach. He said that we know where we agree, that we can do this, and we need to do this. And by this, he was simply referring to COVID-19 relief in general, not any particular proposal in specific. Trump yesterday said that he would sign a COVID-19 relief deal if Congress can agree on one before the end of the year. Trump also said that he believes that Congress is getting very close to a deal. Now, Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell did speak yesterday about reaching a COVID-19 deal this month, and according to Pelosi's spokesperson, Drew Hamill, both Pelosi and McConnell expressed a mutual desire to pass legislation quickly pertaining to government funding, as well as legislation for COVID-19 relief. And earlier in the day yesterday, Pelosi told reporters that an agreement will be reached on COVID-19 relief by December 11th, which is also the deadline for Congress to fund the government. So in one sense, this is the most buzz, the most optimism that we've had for another bipartisan stimulus deal in a long, long time. Unfortunately, the proposal that is causing all this buzz does not include stimulus checks. And I haven't really heard, as I was preparing for this video, I haven't really heard a lot of people talking about including stimulus checks in it. We know Senator Josh Hawley tweeted on Tuesday that any COVID relief bill needs to include stimulus checks. I've been hoping to hear that from more of a mover and shaker, like, say, Nancy Pelosi. As Pelosi all summer long, she said, we need to put money in the pockets of the American people. Well, What's going on here then? I mean, those on unemployment will receive direct cash payments, but what about everybody else? Members of Congress will reportedly work through the weekend on reaching a deal. Now let's talk about Pelosi's press conference this morning. There isn't much to really note in the actual monologue portion of this thing. It got interesting in the Q&A though. Reporters were asking Pelosi why she has shifted from rejecting the Problem Solvers Caucus proposal to offering some kind of tacit approval for this bipartisan bill. Here's the clip.
Good morning, thank you. So just to be clear, you said no continuing resolution.
I don't want any. No.
Right, I understand that, but if you are on the precipice of getting a coronavirus deal, and you can't, if you are on the precipice.
We'll be on before that.
Okay, but what shifted in your opinion when the Problem Solvers Caucus had a much larger bill a few months ago? You did not like that piece of legislation. What has shifted now when they're on board with this piece that's come out of the Senate?
Perhaps you missed what I said earlier. Joe Biden committed to ending and crushing the virus and having a Build a Better America initiative, Build Back Better, a vaccine, answer to our prayers, an answer to our prayers of 95% effectiveness in terms of Pfizer and Moderna, and there may be others coming forward. That is a total game changer. A new president and a vaccine. So there's nothing to, these are different. What was then before was not more of this. This has simplicity. It's what we've had in our bills. It's for a shorter period of time, but that's okay now because we have a new president. A president who recognizes that we need to depend on science to stop the virus, a president who understands that America's working families need to have money in their pockets in a way that takes them into the future without any of the contraptions of any of the other bills that the administration was associating itself with in the board. We feel very excited about the prospect that there's a bipartisan bill, because I told members I'm not bringing any more bills that are not bipartisan. We wanted to show what needs to be done in the interest of negotiation. They're negotiating. It's a good product. It's not everything we want. Don't get me wrong. I don't want the Republicans to think that that this is a dream come true. It is not, but it is a path forward.
So Pelosi basically said that the vaccine and the election made all the new difference, a new president and a vaccine. She said she's okay with a shorter period of time in this bill because Joe Biden will take action once he's in office. Okay, Nancy, but why immediately after the election and even after Pfizer on November 9th? It's been almost a month and now it's promising results from their trials. Why did you position yourself as so resolute regarding the updated HEROES Act at 2.4 for the past few weeks? These reporters are obviously hitting a nerve with her. Here's another one.
Yeah.
Not to accept half of a loaf months ago when you said I'm not going to accept half a loaf.
Look, I'm going to tell you something. Don't characterize what we did before as a mistake, as a preface to your question, if you want an answer. That was not a mistake. It was a decision, and it has taken us to a place where we can do the right thing without other, shall we say, considerations in the legislation that we don't want. Now, that is it. Now, the fact is, I'm very proud of where we are. My chairs have worked very hard on all of this. They were not even happy with a proposal that we made the other day before we saw this proposal. They thought we had come back too small. So it's not about an individual, it's about how we address the needs of the American people. And we have to do it in a scientific way, and we have to do it in a way that recognizes people need food on the table. They need to get their rent paid. They need money in their pockets. They need their unemployment insurance to be there. They do not need a whole cacophony of other things that are on the agenda that have nothing to do with meeting their needs. So we're very pleased at where it is. And as I say, with a Democratic president committed to a scientific solution for this, with the idea that we will have a vaccine, it's a complete game changer from them.
So she said the HEROES Act was not a mistake, and Democrats' decision to reject half a loaf months ago was not a mistake, and she's proud of where we are. She also said that her chairs were not happy with the proposal that Democrats made the other day. I take that to mean the proposal that Pelosi and Schumer sent to McConnell on Monday night. It sounds like Pelosi is on board with scrapping that one. Now this bipartisan $908 billion proposal has come out. But the thing that bugs me, and I know it bugs you all as well, is that she's saying that it's about meeting the needs of the American people. When the fact is what millions of the American people need right now is another stimulus check, and this new proposal doesn't offer that to them at this point. And by the way, no one asked her about that in this press conference, which was terribly disappointing. We know the majority of the American people believe that another stimulus check is necessary, and it just seems tone deaf for politicians on both sides to present this new bipartisan bill as something that's the beginning of meeting the needs of the American people when it doesn't offer that at this point. The one other question that interested me was one about the relationship between government funding and stimulus. Here's the clip.
Sir?
I just want to get a clarification as it relates to your conversations with Leader McConnell.
Yes.
So is this now a situation where we're expecting an omnibus and any sort of coronavirus relief to be meshed into one piece of legislation?
That would be our
one
hope.
vote?
That would be our hope, because that is the vehicle leaving the station. And that's probably, I was pleased that he wanted to do it that way, because that's how that's what we thought would be the best way to do. The vehicle's leaving the station. In other words, you see a bill come to the floor, you don't see the whole underpinnings and the orchestration of what it takes to get to a place. So if there's a vehicle and we can add this language once we see the text, that is what we would be doing.
An agreement on both components to bring something to the floor?
Oh, yeah. And that's what we're working on, yes. And because we would want a big, strong vote.
So Pelosi said that she hopes the government funding and stimulus will be meshed into one piece of legislation. She said she did not want that previously. McConnell said he didn't want that previously as well. They were talking about a clean government funding bill and then do stimulus separately, but now they've both done an about face here. Pelosi's reasoning, because she wants a singular, big, strong vote. All right, so a lot of stimulus stuff this week. We know that members of Congress are working through the weekend on this. I do hope they throw another stimulus check in here. I think it would be ridiculous after all this, months, that a stimulus bill is passed during the lame duck session without a stimulus check. That would just boggle my mind. In terms of unemployment, the November jobs report came out today. 245,000 jobs were added in November. That's less than half of the 610,000 jobs added in October. Unemployment did go down from 6.9% in October to 6.7% in November, but that is the smallest downtick we've seen since May. Places of business are being forced to shut down again. COVID-19, 216,548 new cases yesterday with 2,857 deaths. Joe Biden said he would publicly get a vaccine to increase public confidence in a vaccine. We know that former presidents Barack Obama, George W. Bush, and Bill Clinton have said the same thing in recent days. Also, the UK has said that it will compensate its citizens for any side effects experienced from taking the COVID-19 vaccine. All right, everybody, that is my update for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.